Hello and welcome to Conway Video. In this video I'd like to talk about an idea that I've had for some time, and I've seen that people do this as well, and we don't really talk about it much, so I think we should talk about it. And that is the idea of exploratory coding. Now what do I mean by that? Well, basically software is complex, as you probably know, and it can get more complex. When we have a piece of software that's already complicated and someone comes to us and they want a change, or we want to make a change to it and implement a new feature, we don't always know ahead of time how it's going to work out. So say you have a software product where there's an interface and it's got a list of items and then it's got a detail view. And when the user clicks on an item in the list, then we want to show something in the details view that shows the details about that item. Now suppose a change then comes in that we want to make. So we want to change the list so that it shows a button next to each item. And then when the user clicks the detail, we also want to show an icon in the details. And when they click that icon, we want that to give them a way to make some kind of change to the object. Now, already you can see there's multiple different things going on at once. There's interactions happening in the interface, and we don't know exactly how it's going to work out. We don't know what's going to happen when they go into the details view and click the icon. Is it going to show a dialog box? Is it going to show a little drop-down list? Is it going to go off and send a message to someone? How is this feature really going to work? We might have like a fuzzy idea in our heads, but we haven't really developed it out fully. And because of that, we're in this situation where we want to write nice quality clean code, and we want to do things in small pieces step by step. But we've got this big complicated problem at the same time, and we don't really know what the steps are because we don't know what the solution is going to look like. And this is where I've found that exploratory coding fits in. And what do I mean by it? Well, basically I make lots of little changes to the code very quickly in order to quickly test an idea. So it's a little bit like maybe cutting up a piece of food, making lots of little cuts in it and then putting in the oven so that it cooks nicely all the way through. So I'm making all these little changes to the code, and these are very quick changes, and they're just enough changes to get the code and the application to work a certain way so that I can see what it will look like. So this could be really bad code, it's quick and dirty, it's not very quality, there aren't tests, it's slow, it's terrible code, and I'm definitely not going to check this in, but I'm just making the changes locally in a lot of different places, and as I make the changes I get an idea about what the feature will look like, how it will work, what the interactions will be like, how it will look, and also how it will work from a code perspective, which components I'm going to build and how they're going to integrate and plug in with the rest of the application. Maybe it will require refactoring or changing some other part of the application for this thing to work, and so then I'm thinking about that as well. I'm thinking what other changes will need to be made elsewhere in the application in order to deliver my feature, and where could the code maybe be refactored and improved in order to do the same thing in a better way. And then of course another important thing that I do when I'm making all these little changes to the code is I'm looking at how they work and then I'm showing them to other people. So maybe I workshop them with a user experience designer, or with a customer, or with a user, or with a manager, or with anyone who would like to have input and be able to see how it would work. And so by doing this, I'm able to get lots of feedback very quickly from myself, from the code base, the way it looks on the screen, other people, and I can very quickly get the software and the application into a state where I can see how the feature will work and how it will play out. Now, once that's done, do I push the code straight into the shared repository? No, definitely not. That wouldn't be right. What I do is I use a feature such as stash. So most version control systems have something like this. Git has git stash, and I can stash my change, and that means that I'm taking the change out of the code and putting it in another place. I haven't deleted the code, it's still there. I can still go and look at it in the stash, but I'm taking it out of the main code base. And so I'm kind of clearing the desk, as it were. I've got a clean space, everything is back to where it was before. And then that brings me to the final step, which is I then go and look at the stash, look at the changes, and then I cherry pick them. And so I will look at some code here and see, this is a change that will need to be made first before anything else. So I'll just make that change. And I might not copy and paste. I might redo the change all over again in a quality way. So I'll write a test first, I'll write enough code to make it pass, and so I'll be using test-driven development, or I'll be in any way you can think of, making sure that it's a quality, well-written piece of code, that it's fast and that it works. And then I'll do the same thing with all the other steps. And so basically I already know how the solution is going to work from my exploratory phase. So now I just need to implement the pieces bit by bit. And I've often found it useful to keep a text editor open in a window off to the side, and in that text editor I'll keep a list of things that I want to do, and so I can organize and order my changes in such a way that they are in the right order and that I'm doing the right things at the right time. So maybe I first need to make a change to this component here, and then I need to refactor this component there, then I need to build this screen here. So I'll have a list, 1, 2, 3, all in my list, and then as I work through the list, I'll be looking at the stash and also thinking about the change, and then I can make it in a series of nice, concise, clean commits, and each commit is kind of separate and tested independently. And by doing this, what it means is that I get all that feedback right up front in the exploratory phase, but then I can wipe all that clean and then start again and do it properly, and this time I'll be able to implement it piece by piece. So those are basically the 3 steps. One is I make lots of little cuts, lots of little changes to the code, exploring and understanding the problem and the solution. The second step is that I then stash, put all that away, and then the third step is I start to cherry pick the changes one by one. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, now I need to do this. Now I need to do that, and gradually then rebuild the solution again the proper way with tests and with quality. And I've just found this a really useful technique. It means that instead of wasting a lot of time going all the way down one path, right? I might be writing really quality fast code, but it might not be solving the actual problem that we want to solve. So instead of doing that, I can very quickly just roughly code up something so that I can understand whether it's the right solution, and so I can communicate it to other people and get feedback. And then once I've got that feedback and we're all settled about how it's going to work, then I can start to do it properly. I can stash the code away and then just start to look at the code and look at what I want to do, and then break it down into a list. Again, keeping that text editor on the side with a list of items, working through them one by one, implementing the pieces one by one, and then when they're all done, what do I end up with? I've got the right feature, and I've also got the clean code. I've got nice small commits that each only do one thing, and the code is nice and modularized, well written, well tested, and then I can push to master, and it works, and it's the right thing. So that's the idea, exploratory coding. I recommend giving it a try if you think the shoe fits. Keen to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment or reply, and thank you for watching.